Hi, I'm Ethan. I've got Stan from NetBrain Technologies with me today. We're at AutoCon 3 in Prague, and Stan, you're here to really introduce NetBrain to the AutoCon audience. This is an audience that's about network automation, and you were just on stage talking about basically who you are and what you do. Give me that pitch.
Okay, first, thanks for having me, first of all. Thanks for this opportunity. So yeah, we had a really good session a few minutes ago. What NetBrain does is day two network automation, okay? So operational automation, the stuff where the guys who are the rabbits in the headlights are trying to keep the lights on for the business and haven't got enough time, have got too much complexity, can't change without outages, and frankly, haven't got the right skill sets anymore because it's a real challenge to find the right people in the market.
So, okay, I'm a former NetBrain customer. It goes back maybe a decade, and I know your product's evolved a lot. Back in the day, what I remember you guys doing was like super detailed auto discovery of layer 2, layer 3, how everything was interconnected, your routing protocols, your switching, your VLANs, and all that stuff. And if I understand it, what you've done to support what you were just describing, the guys in the trenches who were there operating the network day by day, it's not just a fancy mapping tool. Now it's like all of this knowledge, deep knowledge about the network beyond that, because you're looking at state, you're actually building a digital twin of the network.
100%.
Okay, so I do have that right.
100%, yeah.
Okay, so when I say digital twin, I know what I think that means. What do you think it means?
Okay, so the digital twin is, frankly, is the secret sauce of NetBrain, right? That's a very hard thing to do, to get accurate, comprehensive data that covers any vendor and cloud environment end to end, okay? So we are querying environments and devices. We've got 200 touch points. We've got 200 data points. We get this sea of information.
Querying devices. You're logging into devices in one state.
Yeah, we'll use SNMP to identify the device, the make and the model. That'll identify the driver. We'll then go and talk to that device, run a CLI command, and we'll say, right, we're going to get everything. NetBrain's on-premise, right? So a lot of people start to panic a little bit about, well, hang on, you're getting a load of information here. It's on-premise, it's owned by the customer. They've got absolute control over that data. So we'll basically run a CLI command like an L3 engineer will do.
Yeah.
Get that information, stitch it together so you've got a view of the full config, the topology, the condition, the state of your entire network right now.
Okay, and that was the piece of this. Real time, that's something you said from the stage.
So you've got a few options, but we have the ability to query the environment real time, which is super powerful in operational situations.
Well, necessary. Right? In other words, it's nice to look at the model of the network that was learned last night or whenever the last time I did some kind of a gather. But when you said real time, it's like, yeah, that's the thing in operations that I care about the most. What's happening right now?
Yeah, absolutely. At the moment, a moment ago, this was working, right?
Yeah.
The first question is, what's changed?
Yeah.
Look at something 4 hours ago. That's irrelevant. I need to know right now, and I need to run automatically a view of what has changed in my network before an engineer even touches that environment. So if you can get insight right up front, that's where it's got really cool with NetBrain. Very, very clever.
Okay, so let's bridge the gap from operations to automation. We're here at the AutoCon conference. We're talking about network automation. How do I use NetBrain as an automation platform?
Okay, so all of our customers that we're using us for observability and the digital twin initially, we spend a lot of time with them, okay, on our next stage of development. And what we found when we analyzed their tickets was that 50% of everything that they were dealing with was an avoidable outage, right? This was change related. It was fat fingers. It was Telnet, whatever it may have been, right? Something that you can stop happening if you knew what you were looking for and you could actually have the time to look for it. That's ripe for automation. Let's look for stuff before it goes wrong, first thing. The second bit of information we found was that of those tickets that were still going to fail, 95% plus had already happened before. You knew what the root cause was. You knew what steps you'd taken, maybe in a different order, different engineer, right? But you never learned from that. Every time it happened again, you spin up another CLI set.
You're going to log into this switch and then this router and then this firewall and check these things, and you do kind of the same process every time.
Yeah, exactly, right? So given that you know what steps an engineer would take, and NetBrain is human intelligence at machine speed, that's a really key thing. It's taking the power of your most senior, experienced engineers and automating those tasks that, frankly, they waste their time doing. They should be doing some of the really tough stuff. They should be doing a lot of the project work. And people are struggling for resource. So why don't you free up that time by taking those engineering, that engineering know-how and making it available to everybody and automating those steps? So that automated triage process is fantastically powerful. So we would get a trigger in a ServiceNow over here. It would come and talk to us and we'd say, we've seen a ticket with those keywords in there before.
Yeah.
Hang on. Let's have a look at the source and destination IP. That's what the path looks like. I'm going to run a health check, and I'm going to check all the things I've checked with those previous tickets within the first minute, before anyone's even touched it. Okay? That's MTTR through
so
the
by the
floor.
time I see the ticket, it's already got all this other information the NetBrain's attached for me gathered there.
Yeah. So you're out of office. Your overnight team, your skeleton crew, all of a sudden the L1 team are adding massive value because they're getting the L2 and the L3 guys involved. And it's like, well, I've already eliminated 90% of these things. So therefore, this really is yours. But it just reduces the amount of noise those guys are having to spend and waste time on. Okay? So MTTR improvement, key metric for our customers in their business case. Incident reduction in terms of volume, in terms of looking for things, compliance assurance, config drift, whatever it may be. Look for things before they go wrong. Reduces the number of incidents they're dealing with in the first place. And then if the worst comes to the worst and something really does go pop, you've got the lights on, right? You've got your digital twin, and you can go back to the old school way of device by device, but at least you know where the devices are and what's connected to what and where the services go.
Okay, so let's talk about scale. What size of network is a good fit for NetBrain?
So I've got a customer with 150 devices. I've got a customer with 160,000 devices.
Okay.
Scalable, doesn't matter. There's no limit in terms of that, but we've got customers who basically, they don't want to create a NOC. They want to do what they do as a business.
Yeah.
So I don't need to go and hire a network engineer. I don't want to do that anymore. I just want to be able to start with automation in mind and take a lot of the noise away so that I don't really have to have a network expert who's dedicated to looking after this environment. So smaller customers, they'll use it instead of having to hire people because there's 20,000 jobs in the UK looking for network engineers right now, and that's growing. They can't fill them. Okay. So let's start with automation in mind. Or where you've got complexity, big banks, big telcos, anybody that's kind of grown by acquisition or organically, at the end of the day, you can't secure what you can't see, and you can't fix things if you've got your blindfold on either, right?
I'm going to check you on that because we're going to talk to one of your partners right now and get his take on how customers are using NetBrain.
Why not, right? You must be bored of listening to me. So yeah, let's bring Joost in.
So I'm with Joost. Joost, you're a partner that resells NetBrain. And what are your use cases with your clients and customers? What are they using NetBrain for?
Yeah, so we already a couple of years a proud partner of NetBrain. NetBrain can be used for several use cases, I need to be honest, right? So we're a year on an automation conference, right? But we typically get some use case around, let's say, people don't see or understand what's in the network, right? So visibility is definitely one.
Surprisingly, I've walked into a bunch of networks where they hired me to be the network engineer and kind of take over the shop. What have you got? Yeah, we don't know.
Yeah,
really, seriously. Here's some logins. We hope you can figure it out. So yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, so definitely on the visibility side, it's definitely NetBrain is a right tool to use for that, right? So it gives you really end-to-end visibility, right?
Yeah.
No blind spots anymore. So I think that's definitely something that organizations want to have, right? I think also on the compliance part is a very important one, right? A lot of organizations need to be compliant, also on the network, right? And I think NetBrain is also a great
compliance use case.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think also to let's say fix things, right? So especially to fix things on your network, right? Instead of having a bunch of people, right, to solve that. The NetBrain really can help, right, to make that time to fix things much shorter.
If you can't throw people at the problem, especially if it's a complex network, then you need tooling that can support you in that.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Yeah. You don't need to have the illusion, right? Okay, we hire a lot of more people, right, to fix that, right? There is tooling in place to do that, right? And that's definitely the reason why we are teaming with NetBrain.
So when you're sitting down in front of customers and doing a demo, what's the killer feature that when you show that up, people are like, yeah, we're done here. Let's sell. Let's go.
Yeah, I would say, and everybody recommend, right? Ask a free demo with NetBrain, right?
Yeah.
So the demo really also convinced us to move on with NetBrain, right? So I definitely recommend go to the website of NetBrain, right? Ask for a free demo, and with that free demo, you really will convinced about the power of the tool.
Joost, nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Well, Stan Matthews from NetBrain, thank you for joining us. Now, if people want to meet you, you on LinkedIn, somewhere like that?
I am on LinkedIn, yeah.
Yeah.
Stan Matthews on LinkedIn. It's
Okay.
fairly straightforward. It looks like me as well. I'm not catfishing anyone, which is a good thing.
The NetBrain Tech is...
And then you go to www.netbraintech.com and you should have everything at your fingertips.
I left you hanging, man. Let's shake hands.